All right, Patty Dominguez here with episode 125 of the Positioning to Profit podcast. Thank you for being here, lending me your ears. Today's show is a solo show, and I was so inspired by a post from Angie over on socials where she asked a question: what do you think the biggest cause of entrepreneurial failure is? Love those types of questions, simple in nature yet really profound, because it opens the doors to a whole lot of perspectives. And so, of course, there's a bunch of answers here that talks about commitment and your mindset, but those are really broad answers to a really profound question. And so on today's show, I'm going to be sharing what I posted and just kind of going more into detail about it, because this one question is so important as more and more people are venturing into being an entrepreneur. And it is a very sexy thing to say that you're an entrepreneur, but it does come with a whole host of different complexities. I know I went through it when I first quit my job, thinking that because I had a degree, an MBA, and all these other things, that was going to help me. And this is a piece of cake. Boy, was I wrong. So that's really the gist of today's show, is just sharing those insights, some storytelling here, if you will, and really offering up a different perspective on what I have personally been through. And so I always say, let my hindsight be your foresight, with the intention, I do these shows, is that for you to walk away with something to say, hey, I remember that one thing that Patty talked about. So that's the gist. All right, so let us get on with the show. Here we go. Let's go. Hey there, I'm Patty Dominguez. You're about to discover what it means to position your brand and your business to stand out. This show explores the stories of small business owners just like you, who are bringing their message out to the world and impacting their tribe. So if you want to take your business to a category of one status, then hang with me, because this podcast shares everything you need to know about how to be more prolific with your brand so that you can have more profits. All right. Well, thanks for checking out the show. Great question that came up on socials. It was, what do you think the biggest cause of entrepreneurial failure is? And I was like, oh, that's a really good question, because I like those types of questions that are really simple and yet really profound, because they can go in a lot of different directions. And beyond the typical commitment and mindset, I think there's more there. There's a lot more there, and it could go in a lot of different directions. So I can tell you, I have been through the whole gamut of things, of what not to do, things that have worked, things that haven't, and everything in between. I'm not kidding. It's been that crazy of a ride. Wouldn't change it for the world, as I always say. So over the past 9 years, what you come to really understand, I mean, thousands of hours of coaching time, thousands over the past 9 years. I can honestly say that you start to see the patterns. And when you really think about it, we humans are not very different, because these patterns show up pretty consistently. So the question is, what's the cause of entrepreneurial failure? I mean, when you look at what's going on, and as I pull up the data here, according to the U.S. Small Business Administration, 31.7 million small businesses in the United States. Millions of businesses are bound to fail. Okay, so the number, according to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, is that about 20% of U.S. small businesses fail within the first year. By the end of the fifth year, 50% have faltered. And after 10 years, only about a third of them have survived. Wow. And obviously, that's not taking into account the whole pandemic situation, which, of course, had an even greater impact on what's been happening for small business owners. So roughly 41% of small businesses closed since March of 2020. And these are a combination of startups and established businesses that permanently closed. So they failed for so many reasons. And while you see what is posted here on lendingtree.com, for example, lack of demand for the product or service, that was about half of the issue. Cash flow problems attracting the right talent, meaning the people who are in your organization, not researching the competition. And so when you look at all these things, this is all having to do with your positioning at the core. The first of which is a lack of demand for the product or service. without the market research and really understanding, how can you possibly have a product or service? Because you may be in love with your product or service, but it doesn't mean that your market, your intended premium prospect, is ready for it. So that's one of the things. Cash flow problems are obviously if you're not making enough sales, it's because people don't want what you have. And then as it comes to researching the competition, this is one of the areas that I see that is critically, glaringly missing in most small businesses who just aren't doing the due diligence of understanding their market. Now, beyond that, there's other things there. And for example, in this question, I answered, well, here's what I have seen, right? With the patterns, when you take a look at the individual entrepreneur, the patterns of why they failed, I can tell you are as follows. And this is by no means an all-inclusive list, but it is a list that nonetheless, when I posted it, people were like, yeah. I mean, it got feedback because it's true. It's true, right? There's enough data points in my experience, and it looks like in other people's as well, to say that this is directionally correct. So the first one is people who have red shiny object syndrome. That is a really, really big one. And so how, pray tell, can you position yourself to profit if you have red shiny object syndrome? Meaning that there's this belief that you're looking for the magic pill, the silver bullet, where there is none, right? And so a lot of entrepreneurs I see, they will buy one course, or they'll hire a guru, and then there's another guru, and they'll say, okay, well, maybe if I hire this coach or I do this program, that's the answer. And the reality is it's not. That is just an example of red shiny object syndrome. So one of the things I tell my clients, my new clients, I'm like, promise me one thing, that for 100 days, you're just going to let your credit card cool off, okay? Like, you're not going to get diverted and look at other things and look at red shiny objects out there, because it gets really intriguing, especially in the marketing space. I mean, most of the marketers that are really the bigwigs, they are geniuses. They're literally experts at crafting persuasive language, where you are running to get your credit card because you have discovered that you absolutely positively need this thing in your life or everything is going to fail. It's just they're literally experts at persuasive influence, okay? And so it's really critical, if you are in the entrepreneurial space, really catch yourself when you're making that red shiny object move, right? Stopping yourself and saying, wait a minute, am I investing in this because it is really going to take care of a real problem that I have in this moment? Or am I in a situation where this is just one more excuse that I am investing in to keep me in a space where I don't have to take action? Hold that thought. More on that, because I have plenty to say there. So that's number one. Number two, commitment. Commitment is a big one. And I know that you've heard commitment. Oh yeah, okay, commitment, got it. But the truth is that success in business is extremely unsexy, and it takes consistent effort over time. In fact, I have a mentor of mine early in my entrepreneurial career who said, nobody is ever consistent ever, and the people that are the ones that win. So it is no different when you are developing your six-pack abs, is you have to be super consistent about your diet and the exercises and certain protocols that you have to have in order to achieve that state, but also to maintain it. No different in the entrepreneurial space. If you are building your business, it is that consistent, committed effort over time. It is totally boring, sometimes unsexy. Well, actually, most of the times unsexy, but it's the reality of what it takes, is that commitment to consistent effort. Okay. Number three, thinking that you have to do it all. In other words, because I've experienced all of these things, by the way, thinking that you have to do it all, white knuckling it, having this perspective or a belief that only you can do the thing, only you can do it the right way, right? And so being this person so full of ego to think that nobody else can do the thing that you're trying to do, are you kidding me? And that really goes into this whole zone of genius thing. I mean, I was literally doing everything in my business and failing miserably because I was doing it all. You cannot possibly do all things. So instead of white knuckling, gripping that wheel of the helm so tight that it creates this perpetual state of stress, and where you're feeling that stress all over your body, and your breathing is really shallow, and you're just literally at your wit's end, it feels like, all the time. Yeah, that's what I mean by thinking that you have to do it all. So what would it look like if you release the grip, release this notion and complete story that only you can do the thing? It's just absolutely not the truth. And when I came to that realization, and I hired, and trust me, it took a while to hire effectively because I've kissed a lot of frogs in the process to find the right team, you're going to see what a game changer that is. And maybe it starts with as easy as just hiring that one person. So the first role that I took care of was my bookkeeper, then my accountant, then I went to social media, then I found a VA that turned into my ride or die integrator, and then I have somebody who is handling my community management. I've had other people to handle traffic. So really recognizing when I'm in a bottleneck, it's time for a who. And I have no interest in adrenal fatigue and white knuckling my way to success. It is absolute crap. That is not true. And so just take inventory. Is that what you're doing? Are you white knuckling, gripping at the wheel for dear life? I have to do this. If it's going to kill me, then I'm really asking you to look at that and say, wait a minute, do I really have to do this, or can I release? Because a common question that I have is like, yeah, but I don't have time to train somebody else. But the fact of the matter is, it is so important for you to do that. And when you do, you'll realize, what did I wait so long? Why did I wait so long to do this? It's worth it. Trust me. Okay, so the next one is a little bit like red shiny object syndrome, but it could mean that you're doing something perpetually, always in that state of what's called, I'm getting ready to get ready. So I heard this really clever phrase, productive procrastination, and I don't remember where I heard it, but I gravitated to it big time, is that it's this insidious way of creating action where you think you're being really productive, but you're in fact kind of just spinning your wheels. It's like you're the hamster on the wheel, spinning that wheel, but you're not going forward. And so you think you're pushing hard and you're putting in all this effort, but it's not really leading anywhere. So that's called productive procrastination. And it could mean because you are going through that course and you're going through the modules and taking notes and just going back and taking a look at your notes. But going through courses and taking notes and just going through the modules is not enough. It's the implementation of that. It's putting it into action that is only going to make the difference. You know this, right? So productive procrastination is this insidious strategy where you feel like you're in action, but it's completely not income producing. So that's a big one. And that one could last for years. When you really look at it, at the core of it is, it's just fear. You have this fear, and your protective strategy to keep you safe is this strategy of, oh, let me get ready to get ready. And it's not like you say it, but those are the actions that are being taken. When you're getting ready to get ready, and you're just taking this action that's not really moving you forward. Just imagine yourself like a hamster on a wheel, not moving anywhere, but just spinning. That's what I mean by that. Okay. The next one is being attached to outcomes. It's really being in this space where you're feeling like you're a victim, but I don't think anybody that's a victim would say I'm being a victim, but that's really what it is. It's where you really just glom onto this notion that failure happened, and so because of that failure, you just want to sit there and stew in your own shit about that launch that failed, or that thing that failed, or I wasted all this money, or that didn't work, or I got conned. Yes, we've all been there. Trust me, I've been there. We've all had those wall-kicking moments, but the thing is what are you doing? It's like you got to get up and keep moving forward, as opposed to stewing in it and being attached to that suffering, which is only going to cause you more suffering. It's really simple. So when things like that happen, really choose to let go of the story that you're attaching to it, because it's exhausting. And I'm sure that the people that you're venting to are feeling that same exhaustion too. It's just like energetically, it's pulling your energy down, and it's coming from such a disempowering place. There is no ROI, no return on investment in beating yourself up at all. All right, the next one, not being diligent about understanding the numbers, the data, everything in your business. So if you're investing in traffic, really knowing the story. And if you don't know how to do it, remember, find a who that is going to help you to provide that clarity. But the numbers are going to tell the story. The numbers on whether you're overspending, right, by investing in courses or coaches, or maybe your overhead's too high, or maybe you just don't have clarity on that traffic that you're spending. Is it giving you an ROI, or you're investing in a traffic person, for example, and it turns out that the traffic is not netting you anything. It's just money flying out the door. You got to know your numbers. So take a look, take inventory. Where can you quantify the results that is going to start to tell you a story? Because cash flow is a really big problem, obviously, in the small business space. And so the way to control that, the way to mitigate cash flow issues, is by being diligent about knowing your numbers. And along with that, the next one is just not being a good steward of money. Is throwing money at the problem instead of really addressing what the problem is. And inherently, the one thing that I've seen is that most entrepreneurs that are in that struggle, hamster on the wheel stage, or they're just not sure why they're not moving forward, they're ready and willing, some of them, to throw money at the problem, where the problem is not in the external, it's really in the internal. And so that's another kind of insidious way that we sabotage ourselves, is by thinking that we have to throw money at the problem instead of addressing what's really going on inside. The next one goes along with the Gay Hendricks book that I talked about, The Big Leap, which was really a game changer when I reread it. And there's a whole other episode where I talk about that, and the upper limit problem. This is where, let's say that you have a successful period and things are so good, it's almost scary how good it is. And then you're like, wait a minute, is this really real? Like, I can't believe I made that much money in my launch. Oh my gosh, is this going to last? No way. Like, things have never been this easy or this good. So see what I mean? You start to self-sabotage, because when things are too good, just recognize that that may be an upper limit problem. And really recognizing when that happens, stopping, assessing, doing the internal work. A lot of this is internal work, right? So there are no silver bullets to all of the solutions that we're talking about. It's doing the work. And even at a macro level, when you think about it, when you hear all of these too good to be true offers, it's because they are. There are no silver bullets. The entrepreneur space does require committed action over time, working on your personal growth, big time, staying in your zone of genius. So there are so many other things that I can talk about, but I wanted to keep it in brief and just share with you what I've seen as to why entrepreneurs fail. So I hope this inspired you to kind of take inventory there. And if you are looking for help on your mindset of where you're playing from, and are you in that space of productive procrastination or self-sabotage or having that upper limit problem, I highly recommend checking out Meet My Higher Self. It is a 21-day program that I came up with that people that have gone through the program said, are you kidding me? This is amazing. And I'm really proud of it because I put a lot of good thoughts. Now, these are not just my thoughts. These are from the masters that have put together the books, the creative expression around this topic of personal growth. So I've compiled it in a 21-day challenge that you can participate in. And you could just go to meetmyhigherself.com for what I believe is an absolutely irresistible offer that you absolutely have to take a look at. Again, meetmyhigherself.com for all the details on this 21-day challenge that will be a game changer when you deploy and you make the decision to put yourself first. That's where it starts. So that positioning to profit process starts with the internal work first. And I highly recommend you take a look at that and really deploy, because you deserve it. If you have that yearning for success in the entrepreneurial space, it's absolutely positive with the right approach and the right committed approach to working on yourself first. Okay. So again, check it out at meetmyhigherself.com. And with that, I will catch you on the next episode. All right. Thanks so much. Hey there, thanks for checking out this episode of Positioning to Profit. Please leave a review if you have gained a benefit from this episode. I appreciate it greatly, and I will give you a shout out on the show as well. I so appreciate the ratings and reviews. Okay, also for the positioning extravaganza, head over to positioningtoprofit.com. There's lots of goodies over there. It's a treasure chest of freebies as well as beautiful courses that will help you to establish your category of one and move your brand forward. And again, connect with me over on socials or on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. I'm on the socials, so I hope to connect with you there, and I look forward to catching up with you real soon.